Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video if it's your first video here. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back to the Anderson's family. Thank you guys so much for coming back to another video. Now today guys, we're going to be having a conversation, a discussion around all the things that has been changing in regards to Canadian immigration. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into the reason of some of these changes. What do I think about it? And do I think moving to Canada is still worth it? Should you still be applying to come to Canada? What do I think? If you guys are new here, please take a second to hit that subscribe button. If you are watching this video and you haven't hit that thumbs up button, please take a second to do so right now. Give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment. Let me know what are your thoughts. Let me know if you will be affected by the changes or if you think that these changes are needed, if you think it's good, and generally just what's your perspective. Now, before I get into the video, guys, I would like to say that this particular episode is brought to you with the support of Requity Homes. Now, if you guys don't know what Requity Homes is, it's a rent-to-home company that allows individuals in Canada, whether you're a temporary resident, a citizen, permanent resident, to buy your home on a rent-to-home basis.
Aspire to become a homeowner but can't qualify for a mortgage? Tired of paying rent, someone else's mortgage? Meet Requity Homes. We offer a new path to home ownership for aspiring home buyers who aren't mortgage ready today. Through our rent-to-own program, we will purchase the home of your choice up front. You can move in today, start saving, and get ready for a mortgage. When you are ready, you can buy back the home from us at the predetermined price. Here's how it works. Step 1. Get pre-qualified with us to see if you are eligible, and if yes, what is your recommended home shopping budget? Step 2. Home shop. Work with our partner realtors to help you find your dream home within your buying power. Number 3. Rent. Rent your home on fixed monthly payment, a portion of which is extra savings you put aside that will help you build up your down payment. Number 4. Exit. You can exercise the option to buy back the home at the preset price or walk away.
Now, I've done videos on this before, but you have to be in Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, or Northern Ontario to be qualified. So I highly suggest to go and check out that video. Home ownership is right within your reach. There's no excuse for you not to be able to own your own home with resources like these that are available. And if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to check out the link in the video description, and you can get as much guidance as you need as you look for your dream home. Okay. With that being said, if you guys are new here or seeing my face for the first time, my name is Damar. I'm a Jamaican who migrated to Canada as an international student back in 2019 with my family. My wife came as a temporary foreign worker, and my daughter got a visitor's record because she was 2 years old at the time. We've been in Canada now. We recently celebrated our 5-year anniversary, and we're now permanent residents in pursuit of citizenship, which is going to be within another couple of months. Hopefully. We're located in this beautiful city called Grand Prairie in Alberta. If you guys don't know where that is, it's located like 5.5 hours north of Edmonton. Now, guys, let's get into it. Now, I was doing some reading the other day, and I noticed that Canada deported an estimated 6,000 persons from their borders. And that was being written by The Guardian on their website, in their newspaper, where they said that a lot of persons with valid permits, international students, temporary foreign workers, and also visitors visa permit holders were turned back at the border for specific reasons. So it simply means that you have official changes that's going on, but you also have unofficial things that's being done to significantly reduce the amount of immigrants that are in Canada. Now, let's be honest, immigration was very open at one point in time, especially throughout and after COVID. That period of time, immigration was very relaxed. But things kind of got a little bit out of control, so the government is just trying to get it back under control for whatever reason. And one of those things is stricter scrutiny at the border. So my advice to you guys is, if you're coming to Canada on an approved visa, whether study, work, or visitor's visa, to make sure that all your ducks are in a row. Don't take anything for granted. Be prepared. Have all your documents at hand. So if an officer should ask you for proof, then you have everything up front. Don't come under false pretense trying to do something else. Like, for example, if you're coming as a visitor, be sure to be coming as a visitor, right? So I definitely suggest that you guys make sure that all your T's are crossed and all your I's are dotted as you enter that border crossing process through the airport or through a flagpoling process or whatever it is that you're doing, make sure that you first do all your research. That's what you're gonna need, and then make sure that you have all your documents, physical documents, hard copy, as per needed. Right. So let's discuss it. 2024 has been an interesting year when it comes down to immigration in Canada. So many things has been changing, so many things are still going to be changed, and so many people are affected by the changes. Now, I came as an international student, and throughout my period of time as an international student, to what things are right now, vastly different. Now, one of the biggest change that was made at the beginning of this year was the proof of funds requirement for a prospective international student visa application. Now, when I was doing it, the proof of funds requirement was 10,000 Canadian dollars. And that was this rounded ballpark figure that most persons knew about. You know, that, okay, then you're going to need to show that you have living expenses for at least a year, calculated to be 10,000 Canadian dollars per person. Meaning that me and applicant should have $10,000, and then I think it was like $4,000 or something for every additional applicant therefore thereon. Now that has changed to an estimated 21,000 Canadian dollars per year. So, as a prospective international student, the government of Canada and IRCC is saying that in order to be eligible for a study permit, a prospective international student has to be able to demonstrate that they have at least $21,000 in living expenses available to them. And that 21,000 is separate and apart from 1 year's tuition. So you have to have at least 1 year tuition upfront available. Plus, you're gonna have to have that $21,000 separate and other miscellaneous funds that may arise. So definitely, I think that's a significant change in of itself. And when I heard about it, like I was like, wow. If this was what it was when I was applying to come to Canada, then I would have had a hard time coming up with that amount of money. But it is what it is. And if you're a prospective international student and that's your dream, then I'm sure you'll find a way, right? Now, I was hoping that that was gonna be the most drastic change, and everything else would be like minor changes here, there, kind of like in between. However, unfortunately, that was just the tip of the iceberg because shortly after that, the government announced that the temporary policy that was put in force after COVID, where international students in Canada were able to work on a full time basis, was announced that it's going to change down to 24 hours when school is in session, effective the 1st of September. So all international students in Canada who were able to work full time, no cap on their amount of hours, are now able to work only 24 hours when school is in session, and there's no limit when school is out of session in terms of a scheduled break. I don't mean like if you choose not to go to school, you can work full time. I mean, if you're on summer vacation, if you're on Christmas vacation, spring break, whatever the case may be, as long as it's a scheduled break, you can work full time. But if it's not a scheduled break, then only 24 hours per week. And that 24 hours, it really sounds minimum, but it's more than what I was able to do when I was an international student. When I was an international student, I could have only worked 20 hours when school was in session. So now the IRCC has said that, hey, 24 hours, 4 hours more than what I was able to do, and I was able to survive. So I'm sure it's going to be able to work out for a lot of guys. But one tip I would give international students who are, finding it difficult financially and 24 hours is not going to cut it, I would definitely suggest that one, you try to find an on-campus job because the work limit, hours limit is really specific for off-campus work. So if you find a job on campus, usually there's no limit to that amount of um, work hours that you can do on campus. And the second thing I'd like to say is throughout the summer months, maximize your earning potential. School usually break the end of April and not open again until the beginning of September. So you want to make sure that you are grinding, you're hustling 2 jobs, 3 jobs, whatever you can do within those 3 months. If you're an individual, not with a family, not with any support, to make sure that you're kind of like saving for the period of time that you can only work 24 hours. It's hard, it's gonna be tough, but it's possible because many has done it before. So I would suggest that you like work as much as you can throughout the schedule break, and then have enough money to carry through the period of time that you're only able to work 24 hours. And that will be how you're able to manage the situation. Or, as I said, if you get an on campus job, that would be ideal. But unfortunately, there's not enough on campus job for international students. So you just have to make do with what you got. So when I heard about the hours going back, I wasn't primarily shocked because I was kind of expecting it, because from ever since knowing international students, their main focus is studies. COVID made it like such a case where, okay, then there was a lot of shortages within many industries. So the government needed to fill some labor gaps, so they made it possible for persons who are already here, international students, to be able to work full time. But what used to happen throughout that period of time is a lot of persons started failing their courses, a lot of persons start prioritizing work, a lot of persons just start like not being a student or remembering their main criteria was being a student. So I was sure that it was only a matter of time for it to go back to how it was. And as I said, you're able to work 4 hours more now than what you were able to do when I just came. So you know what? We'll take the positives, right? Now, again, I was hoping that those were gonna be the only changes that was done, but again, there is more. There is more, guys. There's more. One of which is you're not able to have your spouse and dependent family members accompany you in Canada if you're doing a diploma program or a certificate program anymore. What a big change. What a big change. This change is gonna be affecting so many persons. So many persons. If you guys are anything like me, I cannot imagine being probably 20 minutes away from my family, let alone miles away from my family. So I can only imagine the stress that that is gonna be placing on some of you guys. I can only imagine the amount of stress that it's gonna have on some of you guys. Um, Now, what that means, it means that if you're doing a 2 year undergrad diploma program, you're not able to take your spouse or dependent family member. If you're doing a 1 year postgrad, if you're doing a 1 year certificate, same thing. You're only eligible to take your spouse and dependent family member if it is that you're doing a master's or a PhD program. A master's, a PhD program, or professional studies in medicine or law. Yes. So if you're doing a professional studies in medicine or law, or a master's or PhD program, that's the only way you're eligible to take your spouse or dependent family member while on a study permit. Now, the vast majority of persons come to Canada, they're not necessarily doing masters or PhD. They're doing undergrad programs, they're doing diploma programs, they're doing certificate programs, because a lot of persons just see international student route, as they call it, as a pathway to move into Canada. But that's becoming a lot more stricter, right? So that is going to be affecting a lot of people, and that's a significant change. And I want to know from you guys, let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about that change in particular? What do you guys think about the change where you can't take your spouse with you? If you're interested to come to Canada, would that be a deal breaker for you? Would that be a reason for you to change your mind and say, hey, listen, I love Canada. I would love to move to Canada, but if I can't take my spouse, I'm not going. Is that like a deal breaker for you guys? Let me know in the comment section. Yes, guys. Now let's move on. So you are no longer able to take your spouse with you on an undergrad program. You can only now work 24 hours. The proof of funds requirement is now doubled, right? The other big change as it relates to international students is a limit. A limit. So there's a cap as to how many international students each province can admit into their province. So which comes in if the attestation, the province has to give an attestation to prospective international students for them to be able to apply for a study permit. Before, that was not the case. Now, having that attestation is a critical part of your visa application, because each province has to has a specific limit that they can admit. And honestly speaking, guys, the international students scope was being abused, was being abused. A lot of persons come into Canada as an international student, and then when they go to some college, they realize that either their program is not available, and the school is telling them that they have to differ or choose a different program. Some persons go and the school don't have enough space for them. They're telling them that they don't have any space. And then remember now, the school took their fees, all of these things. They get their visa, they're now here, ready to start school, and there's no space for them. Also, like colleges were mass recruiting international students without a plan of having them integrate into their communities. So a lot of international students were literally renting a bed, literally renting a matches box, literally living in substandard conditions, not able to find suitable living accommodation, and also not able to find suitable part-time employment to bridge the gap. So all of these things were things that are really, really affecting international students, and a lot of persons when they come into Canada as international students and they're faced with these situations, they end up becoming very discouraged because they now start saying, hey, this is not the Canada that I signed up for. This is not the Canada that's being advertised. And we all saw those TikTok videos. We all saw those. This is the end result. In other words, this is the end result of all of those TikTok videos, all the persons who are complaining about cost of living, all of this. This is the end result. So Canada has a reputation as one of the G7 countries to be fair, to be equitable, to be inclusive, to be, to have a good quality living standard for its citizens and persons who are invited into these countries. So when persons come in such mass numbers and they're not able to live the Canadian dream, to put it such a way, it creates a bad reputation in Canada. And the world is looking, the world is seeing it. So Canada has to do something to kind of like create that environment that persons would have become expectant of. So all of these things is in an effort to get a grip back on that. And plus, what's happening as well, a lot of persons come as international students and they don't even oftentimes practice in the field that they study. They just see it as a pathway and then them finish school and then they end up working for some fast food restaurant chain, some supermarkets, you know the thing, or they move to different provinces, and then some industries become saturated with temporary foreign workers from all around the world. We're not zeroing on any specific region, but some sectors become dominated by temporary foreign workers, and then that makes it difficult for persons who would usually be able to get a starter job, like for example a teenager who would usually be able to go and get a job at a Tim Hortons or get a job at a McDonald's or get a job somewhere. It's not possible. It's not possible because these sectors are dominated, and unless you look like the owners or unless you look like the persons who are working there, oftentimes you are not even considered for the job. To the point that some persons, if they go somewhere and they realize that HR is of a certain persuasion, they don't even bother leave them resume because they know that they're not going to get a call back kind of thing. And that is really unfair for persons not to have a fair shot at employment. And also, senior citizens were able to do some jobs, like, for example, in retail, Walmart, greeters, different things. Senior citizens were usually able to get certain slow-paced jobs, but those jobs are being dominated by temporary foreign workers, and Canadians are complaining. Canadians are saying that, listen, our job market we are nice people and we're inviting people, but it's been dominated and we can't get a job. And the government is listening, and that's why you have all of these changes. International students, temporary foreign workers, low skill, that's the sector that's being targeted, right? Now, as far as it relates to international students, those are some of the biggest changes that I can say off the bat, but those are not the only changes as it relates to immigration. One of the biggest change is throughout COVID, what happened was a lot of persons were stuck in different countries. You went into a country, the world shut down. What do? You can't travel, the airports are shut down, you can't leave, you're stuck. So Canada said, okay then, if you came to Canada as a visitor throughout COVID, and you're stuck in Canada, of course, the airport closed, you can't swim, right? You can't do anything. So Canada says, listen, we're going to make it a way that, okay, then, if you're able to find a LMIA job, you are able to convert your visitor's visa status and get a work permit without leaving Canada because you're not going to be able to leave Canada. So they say, okay, then you can do it from within Canada. Now, that was meant to be a temporary policy throughout COVID. It has always been understood that that was a temporary policy. It wasn't like that before. It was never like that before. It was throughout COVID. The government tried to say that, hey, if you're stuck here, if you can't find that kind of job, you can convert. After COVID, and probably not after COVID, because we can probably say COVID is still around, but after the world start opening up back, probably 2021, 2022, thereabout, it was initially scheduled to be ended February of 2023. Yeah, it was initially scheduled to be ended February 2023, which is last year, February. However, there were still significant labor shortages in Canada. So the government decided that, listen, we're going to extend this temporary policy to another 2 years, which would have taken it to February 2025. And again, allowing a visitor visa status person to be able to convert to a work permit if they can get a LMIA job from within Canada. Now, what happened is the same industries that we spoke about started taking advantage of that, started taking in massive people on a visitor's visa, selling them LMIA, converting them to worker status, and that's a breach of the system because one, it started to create a lot of scam, a lot of fraud, a lot of things started happening where even the LMIA process itself started to become compromised because persons who are legitimately looking for LMIA job opportunities are not able to find it because these sectors of persons are gatekeeping it and ending up now selling it. And again, this is the end result of all of that. So when you have like selfish, unscrupulous people who have bad intentions, the good always have to suffer for the bad. And that's really unfortunate, but that's really what's going on. The good suffering for the bad, right? So the government said that, listen, this is what we're going to do. Because there's so many people coming in on a temporary basis, visitors, visa status mostly. Effective immediately, and this was a couple of weeks ago, if you're in Canada on a visitor's visa status, or if you're coming to Canada on a visitor's visa status, you're no longer able to convert to a work permit without leaving Canada. So you're gonna have to go old school back. Before COVID, you have to leave Canada, apply for your work permit, and then come back. Same thing you're gonna have to do again. Effective immediately. So they even cut it before the time because the time was supposed to be February 2025. So the government just chop it. They just cut it. They'll be like, you know what? This is getting out of control. We're just going to try and get ahead of this thing. Cut effective immediately. And again, if you're affected by this, let me know in the comment section. If you agree with these changes or if you disagree with these changes, let it be a conversation. Let's have the chat in the comment section, right? But I personally can see the reasoning behind it. Personally, I can see the reasoning behind it because, like, you should be able to get a job, and if you don't look a specific way, it shouldn't affect you getting a job. You should have a fair shot of getting a job. So I understand that 150%. So the government then says, okay, then effective immediately, if you're on a visitor's visa status, you're no longer going to be able to convert to a work permit from within Canada. We thought that was it. But guess what else? In keeping with that, the government also said that, you know what we're going to do? We're going to limit the amount of low-skill LMIA permits that are being issued. So they say, okay, then not only that you're not able to convert anymore, but they're going to limit it. So that low-skill part that we're talking about, the fast food restaurants, the supermarkets, the retail, the low skill, low wage, the government said that, listen, we're going to limit the amount of permit that we're issuing right here as a low skill basis because we don't need any more low skill workers. Predominantly, that was what the Prime Minister of Canada said in a press conference. He said that Canada at that time was short and we needed the support of low skill workers, but now the economy is different and there's no more need for so much low skill workers. Instead, Canada is focusing on high skilled, which is needed. There are some industries that are struggling while the low skill industry is saturated. Now, Having a limit and low skill LMIA, it really stems the flow of low skill immigration into Canada. Now, what do I think about that? I think each country has to do what's best for them. I think each country has to make a decision what's best for its citizen. And it was getting to a point where you started having anti-immigrant protesters. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Canada getting to a point where now you're having Canadian citizens, and who knows, probably not all of them are citizens. We don't know. But you have persons living here protesting against immigrants when Canada has always been known to be an inclusive society, inviting persons into the country, inviting persons into the community. And to be honest, even myself was really welcomed into Grand Prairie. I didn't really feel like an immigrant and stuff like that. Now you have anti-immigrant protests happening because persons are seeing that their jobs are being affected. Persons are seeing that their general, even, guys, this is so funny. Even some of the persons who come here, and again, I'm not singling out a specific demographic, they are not even abiding to Canadian rules. They're causing crime. They're causing chaos. They're breaking road rules. They're breaking every single thing. Come on now. So you leave from a country, right? You leave from a country that is, let's say, poverty stricken. You move from a country where there's probably little to no real um, observation of laws and rules and morals, and you come into a country where there's a lot of that, and instead of adapting, you are trying to turn it into what you're coming from. I can never understand that. I can never understand that. But that's what's happening, especially in specific parts of Canada. That's what is happening. And you only have that issue when you have low skill, when you have low skill persons most time, not every time, because we know about the whole white collar thing and stuff like that. We're not talking about that right now. But more chances are when you have low skill persons, those are the persons who usually contribute to crime mostly. Knock on wood. Again, I know. I don't want the simpleton to come and tell me that he knows somebody who very highly skilled and still contribute. I know that. But talking for the vast majority, painting one paintbrush to paint everybody. So Canada is saying that, okay, then all of these social innuendos, all of these social nuances are being affected and our culture is being jeopardized. And when you look at everything else, housing prices, unemployment is down, all of these things, Canada is saying that, listen, we need to cut immigration, we need to chop it down. So that is why you have all of these changes going on, right? Now, some sectors are always being mentioned in these press conferences. So if you watch the press conference that I shared on my channel the other day, if you haven't watched that video, take a second to go and watch that video. I think it's like 3 videos in the back where the Minister of Immigration, the Honorable Mark Miller, was sharing his perspective for the reason for some of these changes. He even alluded to the fact that Canada is in dire need of healthcare workers, construction workers. And if you listen to the Prime Minister, you listen to any press release, you'll hear that these industries are in demand. So if your dream is to come to Canada and you don't know what to study, go and study something in construction, man. Study something in healthcare because those industries are in demand. So focus on the in-demand industry and don't focus on the low-skill industry. Everybody come and they, including myself, by the way, and do a business program. Now, business program is the most saturated program in the world. And really and truly, contrary to public belief, business program is like the easiest program anybody can do. It really has no value. It really has no value because there's so many persons with a bachelor's in business administration, so many persons who has a qualification in business administration that it's almost like the basic. It almost has no value. Look further. Look into specialized fields. Look into specialized fields that would be relevant to your life, yourself, but also to a Canadian society, right? So that would be my point. And you know what? The changes are not yet done. No, they're not. The changes are not yet done. I've heard through the grapevine that there are more changes coming on the 15th of September, specifically regarding permanent residency application. Whoa. Mr. Immigration, take it easy, pan with it. right? So there are more changes coming as it relates to permanent residency application. Now, I don't know what those changes are. I don't know what those changes are, but I'm open that is nothing that's gonna be too impactful and persons who are already here, right? I really hope so. I really hope so. But I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I'm being hopeful. And I don't think changes have been like I don't think it's done yet. I think there's more changes to come, but we don't know what those changes are. And do I think these things are permanent? Nothing with immigration is permanent. So what another thing you can do is to ride out this wave and wait until things start becoming relaxed again. That's what I would probably suggest, or find a way, right? And the persons who are abusing the system are the persons who were abusing the system. This is all your fault. That's what I would say. You, Canada and myself believe in fairness and equality and just equal opportunity for everyone. So if you are from a different race, from a different perspective, from a different persuasion, and you're in my voice right now, and you're in a position of power, do not allow don't make decisions based on race. Don't make decisions based on your culture. Make decisions based on what's fair, and make decisions based equally for everyone. And that's why we're having this issue right now. That's why we're having this issue right now. But let me know in the comment section, guys. What do you think about these changes? How do you think this will affect a Canadian economy? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's high time now that Canada did something? Or do you think they're being too harsh? Let me know in the comment section, guys. And if you guys are watching this video all the way through to the end and you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please take a second to hit that subscribe button. If you haven't liked this video as yet, what are you waiting on? Take a second, hit that like button, and please leave your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching this video again, and see you guys in the next video. Peace.